the role of stories are going to be higher. If the logical information, it's just going to be there. But AI still hasn't figured out how stories work, how powerful stories are. So if you think of a story by one of my favorite authors like Franz Kafka or Anton Chekhov, AI still hasn't reached this way of making people feel emotional and think without logic, by using like a literature way, like storytelling, and like something that goes beyond just logic and encyclopedic information, something that has to do more with myth and storytelling and so this, I don't think AI will reach this point.
Welcome to another Digital Report podcast. I'm Jatinder Palahar, and today I've got a really cool conversation about AI with Ben Pines. Now, Ben, he's the director of content at a company called AI21 Labs. And these guys have developed something called Wordtune, which is a really interesting AI text-based writing tool that we're going to have a conversation about as well. So Ben is always striving to create good content in both both engaging and informative, and he's always looking forward for creative and original ways to present information. And funnily enough, if I'm right, that sentence was actually created by one of your AI tools as well, wasn't it? So
that's true.
Welcome, Ben. Welcome to the Digital Report podcast. How are you today?
I'm great. Thanks, Jatinder, for having me, and excited to talk about AI and writing and everything.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. So let's just dive straight in. I mean, one of the undertones with like the whole Digital Report project when I started it was about, creating a report, not just online, but offline. But one of the other things was also emerging technologies and how the future is creating technologies which allow us to interact in a different way, to connect with our audience, to connect with people. And now we know that this whole AI chat thing is like just blown up, right? And it's gone totally insane. So with that future of AI, what do you think is happening for like the digital marketing world and for content writing? Where do you think it's all going from your understanding of things?
Well, this is a big question, but what's been happening recently is that this industry has been developing super fast. Like everything is happening and changing, and the rate of advancement, how these tools and language models are advancing, is spectacular. And it's frankly hard to pick up. I know, because I'm having a lot of conversations with our customers. It's hard to kind of, you have people who are business owners or freelancers, and they need to take care of their business, but also stay up to date with technology. So what's happening is a bit of chaos, and this is usually what happens when a new technology comes in. And I think what's going to happen is that this industry is going to stabilize and, develop like certain niches and certain like structured industries. And then we're going to be able to see the picture more clearly. But in the meantime, we do need to kind of develop a quick look at what is going on and what is happening, and that's what I'm trying to do for myself and also for the audience that I speak to in podcasts and in my LinkedIn page.
No, absolutely. I mean, like what we're hearing, just with all this ChatGPT, because obviously that's kind of like a big one that's steered people towards this, is how business owners, how copyright, like you said, are wondering, okay, how is this going to affect our businesses? How are we going to be able to write content when potentially AI will be able to generate it? Like you have people who are striving towards becoming writers, who want to be creatives and whatnot. And could they potentially be feeling that what's the point? Because potentially an amateur could go in, create something without actually knowing the craft of writing and whatnot. But like, what's that look like from your? I know we're going towards that, but how do you feel about that?
The best answer I can give is if you take a bird's eye view of what is happening right now. So this technology is able to create full articles with a click. You give it a simple prompt, write me an article about tips for marketing, and it churns out a full article.
Mm.
But basically, this means this is a zero-sum game. If you think about it from a bird's eye view, it's a zero-sum game, because if everyone has it and every person has that ability to create this sort of article, the meaning of a zero-sum game is that it has no meaning. Like everyone has it, then it has no value,
Mm-hmm.
because you have no edge as a producer, as a writer producing this article. You have no edge over just the random person. That's one perspective. The other perspective is, once you have this technology, the whole internet is full of articles, infinite articles like this, potentially. Okay, so what if you look at it beyond just the, okay, it means I have to write, to use this technology to churn out articles one by one, then you understand that the algorithms of Google and search engines are going to change. So they're not gonna flood just random articles that people are going to publish. So now the task, the real task, then you can understand the bottom line is, the real task is writers need to produce work that is outstanding of AI, that uses AI, uses the tools to make their writing shorter and faster and better, but also they have to have another edge to their articles, make it unique from AI in a lot of ways. And unique also means helpful. So when I read the article, when I read your human article based on your experience, I need to get more value than when I read an article I read in ChatGPT. And this is already happening. If you go to YouTube and search for your favorite YouTuber, one of mine is Ali Abdal.
Mm-hmm.
If you watch his video and then go on Google and search for this a similar topic and get an article that's top ranking from one of the major blogs, like, I don't know, HubSpot, or for my experience, I get more value from Ali Abdal's video, just because he gives his perspectives, he gives his unique point of view, and he's done a lot of research to produce his videos. So this is a kind of, when you start figuring this puzzle out, you can actually know how you can develop as a professional writer still with this technology, utilize the technology, and produce content that stands out and is, thought leadership, and really draws and grows an audience, not just grows traffic, SEO and volume, grows an audience.
Absolutely, man. I mean, it's really interesting what you shared there, because I think I read somewhere somebody's talking about Google saying that if you have AI that's producing content and it's getting indexed in the search engines, it's like you said, a zero sum game, because what's the point? What value is it actually adding whether a machine's generating content, which the machine is reading and putting out to humans, and the humans are just like, it's like this cycle that doesn't actually add value to anyone. So it's right what you're saying there, and I know from my understanding that they are creating tools which are designed to detect AI potentially written content as well. What's your thoughts on that? Like, how can that work against it, or anybody who decides to utilize AI tools, could the anti-AI tools work against them, or what?
So,
any thoughts on that?
So these tools basically are still driven to make, like, you use those tools to produce content. So when you publish on Google, it's going to be not detected that you use AI. But basically, there's some change that might happen in the actual search engines. Okay, so yesterday I ran across an article, a LinkedIn post that talked about like a certain copywriting frustration. The fact that there was frustration in copywriting, and I wanted to add a comment on my own. And in the comment, I wanted to give an example of like how copywriting sometimes uses hipster slang. I know it's just that was the idea. So I actually went to Google to find the answer. Like I wanted hipster copywriting examples, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And what I got was examples of sentences that had the word hipster.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went to one of our own actually AI tools and asked the same question, like hipster sentence examples, and I actually got sentences with the slang of hipsters. So I got the right answer. So there are certain keywords, more long tail, and you can
Mm-hmm.
even think of the longest long tail you can come up with, that these tools are going to be better than search engines, because search engines only pick from a limited number of websites,
Mm-hmm.
and these AI tools have infinite number of permutations. So this might mean that for all the long tails, if you have a really long tail search term that you're searching for, then you might get a better answer using an AI tool
Yeah.
than using search engines. And I don't know what this will do for search. So this might change the whole game, the whole SEO game. And again, it comes down to, if you want to build a business, build an audience, you're gonna have to focus more on gaining the trust and the followership
That's
rather
right.
than getting SEO ranking.
That's
Uh,
so that's such a valid point, because I was just thinking as you were sharing that, I was thinking that like at the moment, obviously people, if you look at it, say they create content because they want to rank their blog or rank something where people are going to learn about something. But with these new AI chats, you can just literally type it in and it will almost like bring out the best solution for the context in which you've put the term in, right? So does that mean that potentially websites could, with the blogging side of things, become a bit redundant? But then the other question you raise is that whole thing about, well, where's the creativity in that and how you getting the real experience of it? So that's going to be a very interesting phase, isn't it?
For sure, like, because search engines have become the standard and have been, Google is a huge, the biggest company in the world, and it's built on that, the fact that people search on Google. So this is going to, but it's not the only way people search. Like people nowadays start searching on TikTok and maybe on YouTube, and so it's unclear how it's going to develop. But as a freelancer, as a small business owner, you should have been thinking about social media and email marketing and other types of marketing other than SEO to begin with. But now
Mm,
maybe you need to think about other channels even more closely, like how you're going to build your branding. How does your content strategy also include like strategies not just for traffic but also for trust and followership and building an audience.
yeah. Do you think that we're potentially going to go in a direction where it's more about thought leadership and context around what it is that you're trying to do and achieve with the content?
Oh, for sure. And I can maybe share an example.
Yeah, go for it.
I can share an example. So can you see the screen?
Yep.
So this is the Wordtune editor, our own tool that includes AI, and what we recently released. So until now,
So just
Wordtune.
before, sorry, Ben, before you go into that, just for the viewers that are listening, let's just talk a bit about that. What is Wordtune for those who
Okay,
don't know
so
what it is?
yeah, so Wordtune is an AI writing assistant. Okay, so our
Mhm.
vision is that we want to transform reading and writing and make it better, so you can write better and faster and more efficient. But the vision is different than just I put a prompt in and then I get a full article. We still believe
Mm.
that humans are the best writers. So the
Mm.
way we built the tool was you are still at the helm. You have the steering wheel and you set the direction of what you want to write. Because if you churn out an article and then it's so good and an interviewer comes in and asks you, okay, why did you write what you wrote in paragraph 2? And you have no
Mm.
idea because you didn't write the article, it's a problem. So what's the alternative that still uses the power of AI? So I have an idea. I have a
Hmm.
thought. I always start an article with a hook. Okay, and then I can
Yeah.
expand this sentence with these spices that we build. That's what we call them, spices. So I can choose the explain one.
So just for the listeners who are listening to this podcast, basically what Ben's doing, he's giving an example of the interface of Wordtune where he started to type in something and then he's got something called spices, which basically are like little commands, almost little commands that can expand on the content that's being written. Sorry. So yeah, carry on, Ben.
Exactly. So it now gave me this paragraph. A hook is an interesting and attention-grabbing statement. So much of what we write is we have a thought, but we want to expand it to make it easier
Mm.
for the reader. So you can see it gave me this example, which I look over and see, do I approve it? Do I accept it? Do I need another suggestion? Okay, and
Mm.
this way I can slowly progress with the article. Maybe I add a statistical fact.
Which is always handy because you're writing something and you might think, oh, where can I get a fact for this, or where can I back what I've just said?
So
So
for example, one of the biggest uh, health problems is heart disease. Let's try to add a statistic. Maybe it'll give us.
So it's just doing a search at the moment. It looks like it's just thinking.
It looks like it, but it actually does. There's a whole process behind it that involves large language models, these large machines that have billions of parameters. And it wrote heart disease. I asked for a statistical fact. So it wrote heart disease is the leading cause of death for men, women, and people of most races and ethnic groups in the United States. And
Hmm.
what's great about this, and a problem with a lot of these tools, is that with this, you get the citation and the source. So I can go
Hmm.
and click here and see exactly where this information comes from and put it, of course, in my article. Okay,
So Wordtune is actually like connected to the internet and is trying to get the information from relevant sources.
so how it works is these models have read through the entire internet, and
Hmm.
this is how with these models they are able to uh, help you produce these paragraphs and sentences and articles.
Yeah.
But with our tool, yeah, it also checks back and fact checks all of this information, so you can get the source and citation and actually know where this is coming from. And it saves you so much time. You don't have to go to Google, search for what you want, do some research. You're in the editor. Everything is in the editor. So this is how, and in our own blog, I can just show you because we recently shared it. So I wrote this article and I actually show how I wrote the entire article
Mm.
using the same technology of you can have it to expand on a specific direction you want, or maybe give an example, or perhaps you wanted to emphasize a certain point,
Mm.
or even add a joke.
I had a joke, yeah.
So
So for anyone who might be thinking when they see that, like, how does this differ from, you probably get asked these questions. How does it differ from tools like Jasper AI and Grammarly and the ones that are already out there? Because I hadn't heard of this one, but when I started using it, I liked it because, especially with the plugin for the browser, because you can be writing something and it's got the the prompts, and it can really bring those into your responses. So how does it differ to those existing, even ChatGPT? How does it differ to all of those?
Great question. So one thing is that you are continuing to point the direction of the article. So if you want to produce thought leadership, whose thoughts is it? It has to be your thoughts.
True.
So you have to produce the outline. You have to produce the skeleton of the article, because your article is saying something. I recently wrote a post how to write a LinkedIn bio.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and I wanted to make it different. And that's everything, every piece of writing that you write, you want to make it different, outstanding. Like, this is what you say to the world. So this way you progress line by line, paragraph by paragraph. You still have control. You can decide, you can choose what, and direct the machine, because these AI tools still don't read our minds. When they read our minds, this is going to be a different story. You just plug it in and let it. Until then, you have it's if you want to be a good writer, it's like a photographer. Are you going to use Instagram and do a museum with photographs that you made with the filters of Instagram, or are you going to understand every part of the camera's mechanism and produce photographs that are, like emotional and I don't know, like have an emotional impact. So the same is true. It's even more true with writing. If you think of the great writers, like how are you going to try to be like Paul Graham, the essayist, or Seth Godin, that most of their actual effort wasn't on writing. Most of their effort is on how can I write a book that changes how people think and helps them.
Yeah.
So these tools, our vision is directly pointing towards this direction, and I frankly I'm surprised there's not a lot of other companies who share the same importance, that you don't just churn out articles. You actually, AI is amazing at just helping you produce faster. And I was able to produce the article I mentioned, in 2 hours instead of probably 4 hours that it would take me if I didn't have something. And this is true not just for full blog posts. Like when you create a website copy, you usually have a line like, our customers love our interface. You want to expand it to a paragraph, because usually in a landing page or in a feature page, you don't have just that line. You have a paragraph. AI is so great at just letting you expand your point. I call it like from Yoda speak. You remember Yoda from Star Wars?
Yeah.
So so just expanding it to a human paragraph, it's so powerful, and it's going to be the standard of writing nowadays. Like writers are going to use these tools, and it's going to help a lot of writers just to be on produce the top level articles and content and emails and whatever content they need.
Absolutely. I mean, this is really fascinating. This is one of the things I suppose I was intrigued by, was that you on one side you have like experience and expertise, right? And on the other side, you've got like, you're not too sure, right? So the people who are not too sure, they could go into these AI tools and type in something, 5 steps on how to do X, and it'll just churn it out, right? They've done it, they put it out there. Nobody's the wiser whether that person's an expert or not. But on the expertise side of things and the experience, there's a certain point, like you said, there's a certain point, a certain message, and certain thoughts that you want to ignite in the other person, right? And then when you put you try to write something in AI, and AI is not going to be able to grasp that, right? So what that means is that you have to almost like rewrite it, recontextualize what you're putting in there in order to try to get it to come out with something that what you're trying to actually express, right? So with like what you're sharing with this tool, what I liked about it was that you can start to do that, and like you said, guide it and direct it into where you're trying to go, and then get AI to assist with like, how do you expand on these points? And in that kind of context, this is actually quite brilliant, because sometimes you get stuck on like, what's a better way of saying this, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. So in the past, let's take a salesperson that sells medical equipment. Okay. In the past, that person needed to know their material about medical equipment and how to sell it, and all of the objections that their clients are raising, and how
Mm-hmm.
to deal with each objection. Like, you need this medical equipment, and this is good, and they need to learn all this, like tons of material. But what they also need, because this is the digital age, is like producing LinkedIn posts and producing emails and website copy and blog posts, etc., etc., etc. So they need the skills of selling medical equipment, but they
Mm.
also need the skills of writing paragraphs and being articulate and being expressive and having native English. So they need to have all of those traits. And now with the use of AI, just focus on being the best medical equipment salesperson in the world, and you'll already have like the snippets of thoughts that the direction that you need to point,
Yeah.
and you use AI to just make it clear for your audience, but you're still like, it's a quicker and faster way to take your expertise,
Yeah.
medical equipment, and just produce it digitally,
Yeah.
share it with the world. So this is
Absolutely.
powerful.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that's like one of the good kind of aspects of it, is that, like, exactly like you said, you have the experience, the expertise, so you've put a piece together, you've created something, some documentation. Now you might not have the experience of, like you said, the social media side of it, but once you create that document where you've actually put in your facts, your study, you create the article, you can then put that into AI and say, now using this content and this context, create me a Twitter post, create me a Facebook post, create me a title for this. So it's all relevant to the content you've just created. And that way
Oh
it can
yeah.
churn it out quicker, right?
Well, in terms of repurposing, there's so much you can do. Like, our tool, besides being able to produce the content, is also a rephraser and paraphraser. So
Mm.
you can take a paragraph that you wrote for LinkedIn, and Wordtune has a feature of shortening and expanding, and you can actually change it, rephrase it, like change the way the wording is said. So yeah, let's just, why don't we just share
Yeah,
it
why not?
again?
Definitely.
So
Definitely.
we were here. So we wrote this paragraph, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But why don't I just use the tool to paraphrase it in a different way?
Mm.
Okay, and I can shorten it. Maybe I want it for Twitter, so I want it short. So instead of
Mm.
this long sentence, you see it shortened it to just fewer words. And I can take it, and it's original content, and I can take it and use it. So repurposing is a big deal, and it's a lot faster with these tools, because you don't have to think about how can I rephrase it in a different kind of way. So yeah, these tools are, again, very helpful for that.
Absolutely. And I think that's like, just in case people who are wondering, I think that's one of the areas where it's more genuine, because you've created your article with your knowledge and information. You're now using AI to just say, okay, give me these little bits and bobs that I need, that I haven't really got time to do. I'm not too sure how to focus in on this, but it's still the same message, isn't it? It's just been churned out. So it's your content, it's your repurposing, and the AI is like an assistant to say, well, you could do it like this or say it like this. And that's what I think is really, really phenomenal about it. And just kind of leaning in on that a bit more, like, for people who might be thinking, well, how else can I use this to create income streams? Like, what are your thoughts around that?
Um, that's a good question. I think like at AI21 Labs, we have two main products, which is Wordtune, right, that I just showed you, the Chrome extension.
Mm-hmm.
And we also have Wordtune Read, which is a summarization tool.
Okay.
So uh, you can use that to basically make any of your content or even other people's research essays simpler, written in a way that is shorter and simpler. And in terms of thinking about revenue streams, uh, so there's one side which is the content production. You hasten the content production, and now you can use it in all the regular things like creating a video script, creating social media posts,
Mm-hmm.
blog post articles, emails, newsletters, and also you can make like very intricate and difficult and sophisticated and long essays and articles just shorter and more easily explained, and just
Mm-hmm.
have that be more like accessible documents. So there's really a lot of ways you can utilize it, but basically, every content marketer knows that there's a certain formula uh, for turning content into revenue. Okay, so uh, you do need some marketing skills, but if for any client that you have a blog post or a social media post that brings in traffic, that traffic turns into leads, that leads turns into sales, then you can actually say how much, and you spent like 6 hours writing that piece. So you can show the client, I spent 6 hours writing the piece. It turned into five customers this month. You
Yeah.
can create a prediction model, so you know that like in and this is accumulative. So the article that produced five clients this week is going to produce five clients next
Yeah.
week, and so on. So every article you get a bigger revenue stream, so you can create this prediction of how much money you're going to make. So if you have this formula of content turning into revenue, you can then say, okay, if I just tap into this
Mm-hmm.
and instead of 6 hours, I use AI to turn it into 3 hours, 4 hours, I can actually increase my revenue, whatever it is. It could be a website for coaches. It could be a website for, I don't know, gadgets.
Yeah.
It's all formulating the connection between content and the revenue. So this is an important rule to think if you're a freelancer and in the business of writing or doing content marketing, you can
Mm-hmm.
use that.
No, that's fabulous, man. Yeah. I mean, you've been sharing some good insights there. Tell me a bit more about like a AI21, about their kind of vision and mission, and what is it that they're seeing in overall in terms of this space, and where what can you add to that?
So the company is we started in 2017.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a lot of experience with large language models and their capabilities. And we're one of the only players around that we have our own large language models and our own platform. And we also have our own product. And this gives us kind of a unique perspective into like how these models translate into like how they're seen and used by users. And this feedback is really helpful to create the best models that we can. But the platform also serves other developers and other companies who want to use language models in their own solutions.
Mm-hmm.
So, generative AI is now being added, we hear, to almost every product. We've heard
Yeah.
that Notion is adding it, and Canva has added it, and so there's so many uses for this technology, and not just for generating text, but also, if you think about in the medical field, for law, for chatbots, just for onboarding clients and making the experience easier, because you have a model that can communicate, and then the whole experience of everything you do can be uh, basically improved. So
Mhm.
this spans really across a lot of industries. Gaming industry is a big one.
Yeah.
So it's a multifaceted company, but our main vision is to transform the way people read and write,
Mm.
and improve it using AI.
Right, right, right. And you said that you basically provide APIs for other companies to plug into your language models and stuff. Is that right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. All right. There was something interesting my brother found on your website. It was something along the lines of you say like, why is language harder than image for machines to work with? There's something around imagery and AI versus like words and language is actually harder than AI to produce images. Like that was interesting. I just wanted to touch on that a bit.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm not the experts. You need to talk with our CEO about that. But the basic concept is that for visual, you get like you get everything in the visual. Like you have all the information in the visual, so you can feed the machine like these are millions of cat images, and then it can recognize the patterns. You show them the image of the cat, but with AI, it's with textual AI, it's a bit different because it also needs to understand the rules of how the world works, kind of.
Mm, mm,
So this is the more intricate thing, because you ask it a question, and you want it to also understand how what the meaning is behind it, and a lot of the
mm.
times the meaning is in between the words.
That's right.
Um, but yeah, it's been advancing since the most recent advances. It's been spectacular. So I don't know where it's going to end up with.
Let's actually let's go a bit out there, right? Let's just go a bit out there, a bit wild. We don't know what's happening. Like if you look at the advancement of AI, we know we've got these language bots coming up, right? We know that AI is now synthesizing voice as well, so they're trying to make voice more human. And there's some software that makes a voice, and like it's literally it sounds real. I did a little short story using one of those, and it came out like I was told that if I didn't tell people it was AI, they would have thought it was a real voice. It was that good. And then you got obviously the deep fake technology, so you can actually map out your own face and create an avatar around it. So you combine all those things, right? And you've got this person potentially but it looks like a real person, but it's AI, right? Now, if we go into that space, where's that going? Like, what could potentially happen in that space? Because will people be able to differentiate the difference? Like, is it going to become your own personal AI assistant that does everything? So instead of saying, I'm not going to say it because my phone's going to activate, but when you say, hey, whatever, that the avatar will come up and start to give you what you want. Like, what are your thoughts around that? Let's just go a bit wild.
Let's go, Wild. Well, the access of information has grown so tremendous in the past few years. Like you ask, the assistant, you ask it to play you a song from any era, from anywhere, and it plays you within seconds. Like, so the access to information is already here, and it's going to be even more. So you have access to any information in the world. At the
Mm,
mean at the same time, the level of content that people usually consume has also changed. So instead of like reading long books, people's attention span has been shortening more and more.
mm,
Just watching, I don't know, TikTok videos that are 5 seconds. So the access to information and knowledge is changing, and the need for knowledge is also changing, being kind of more shallow. Where we did sometimes at one point it will reach like this. Okay, people will look for the most shallow information and they'll have access to the highest information. I think at that point, the people who know how to curate are going to be the one curate information, are going to be the one who are going to lead, to be the thought leaders. So for example, you talk to ChatGPT and tell it, give me 7 ways to write a newsletter. Give you 7 ways, and you tell it, okay, give me 17 ways. And you need to choose the 3 best ways that you're actually going to act upon. So the experts who know how to pick from the options that the AI is generating, those are going to be the ones. And those, so how do they know which are the top 3 that they need to act upon? For this, they need to have they know the, like, how the system is built, beyond, like, how is the knowledge built? What's the backward reverse engineering? How does it work? They need to do gain all of the knowledge. There's no shortcuts here. They need to get back to the old ways of learning. So I believe we'll have certain experts that actually study everything from scratch. Most people won't. They just will get it for granted. But these experts are going to be paid a lot of money because they're going to be more sparse. For you to be an expert and pick the top 3, companies are going to hire you and pay you a lot of money. That's what I think.
I think you've just touched on something. I hadn't thought about that one. Like, that is such an interesting point, because you're right, people are going to be just consuming information quick, but they're not going to know the deeper understanding of how that works. And then the other side, you're going to have those who say, well, how does that work? And they look and they know, and it's almost like you said, that the bird's eye view, they'll be able to see something far bigger than just the shallow view of something, right?
Wow. The iceberg below, like, what is the all the knowledge that leads to making this or that decision. So my advice, pick a niche and really dive deep into everything that has to do, read books, like do all the things that are kind of don't make sense. And the other thing, I would say, the other prediction is that, and this is, I think, a personal like prediction, because but I feel like it's true, like, that the role of stories are going to be higher, because the logical information, it's just going to be there.
That's right.
But AI still hasn't figured out how stories work, how powerful stories are. So if you think of a story by one of my favorite authors, like Franz Kafka or Anton Chekhov, like, AI still hasn't reached this way of making people feel emotional and think without logic, by using like a literature way, like storytelling, and like something that goes beyond just logic and encyclopedic information, something that has to do more with myth and storytelling, and so this, I don't think AI will reach this point.
I think I agree with you, because like it's like the brain, isn't it? Because they talk about 2 hemispheres of the brain, saying your left brain is like logic and reason, whereas your right brain is like emotion and not. And as a human being, we can combine all 4 of those aspects together to be able to, like, say, through story, be able to share like a deeper message. Whereas AI at the moment, we know basically it's not like sentient or anything like that. It's like data sets, isn't it? It's worked off a lot of data set put together, so you can look at the patterns and then predict patterns. Whereas the emotion and irrationality of things it's unpredictable. You can't do that side of it. So it's that gap, isn't it? It's like, well, how are they going to fill that? It's never going to be able to fill that, as far as I'm concerned, unless they replicate and make another human being, right? In which case, just
Exactly.
get married and have babies. There wasn't. To
Oh,
keep the human race
exactly.
going.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, exactly. I think I always say when they do reach that point, we're gonna have a whole other host of problems. Least of our concern, like marketing, is going to be the least of our concerns. Like
That's right.
we need to think about how we keep them from the guns. But
Yes,
that's I don't know
exactly.
when I don't know when this is like, but I don't think this will, like, this is a whole other
Exactly.
issue.
Oh man, Ben, it's
uh,
been fabulous chatting to you. I mean, I could talk about this all day, and I'm conscious of your time. And I'm grateful for you joining us. Right? Any last words? If people want to find out more about it, what do they need to do?
yeah, so go to wordtune.com and download Wordtune, and there you will find what I showed, which is our paraphrasing tool and our spices. And I urge everyone to start writing more and start tinkering with this technology and see what it can do for your business,
Mm,
basically.
wow, fantastic, man. Ben, thank you very much. I hope the listeners have enjoyed that. Again, any questions, just send them our way. We'll see, and maybe in the future we could do another one to cover off anything that we missed. So on that note, everybody, thank you very much. Thank you, Ben, and see you next time.
Bye bye. Thanks.